It didn't begin with soldiers or gunfire. It began with silence, the faint tapping of radio keys echoing across Europe. Inside dimly lit rooms in Berlin, operators transmitted messages wrapped in the unbreakable code of the Enigma. To the Germans, it was perfection. A machine that turned language into chaos, logic into mystery. Each day, its rotors spun new combinations, birthing millions of possibilities no human mind could untangle. The Allies listened helplessly, their radios filled with noise that carried both life and death within it. The war was raging on the ground, but another invisible war had already begun. One that would determine which side controlled the future. While the world's attention was fixed on the front lines, on tanks rolling through Poland, on bombs falling over London, a different kind of battle took root. It was fought in offices, attics, and basements by people who never held a gun. The generals didn't yet realize that the next great weapon wouldn't be made of steel, but of mathematics. In Warsaw, a small group of cryptologists listened intently to the enemy's static. They sensed that hidden beneath the noise was a pattern, a rhythm too precise to be random. If they could understand that rhythm, they might glimpse the mind of the enemy itself. To Germany, the Enigma was more than a tool. It was a symbol of superiority, a machine that represented the empire's faith in order and logic. They believed no one could ever break it. But deep within the fog of war, a few young mathematicians dared to believe otherwise. They were not soldiers, yet they prepared for a mission more dangerous than most who wore a uniform. As Europe burned, they sharpened pencils instead of blades, and began a battle that would change the meaning of warfare forever. As the world descended into chaos, a handful of minds prepared to strike back, not with weapons, but with thought. Before Britain ever heard the name Bletchley Park, the first victory against Enigma was won in near total obscurity. Not in London or Washington, but in Warsaw. In 1932, 3 Polish mathematicians, Marian Rejewski, Jerzy Różycki, and Henryk Zygalski, were handed a challenge that seemed almost absurd: break the most advanced cipher system in the world. They were not spies, not soldiers, not even professional codebreakers. They were young men armed only with intellect, intuition, and a fierce sense of duty to their country. In secret offices of the Polish Cipher Bureau, they began their work surrounded by chalkboards, cigarette smoke, and an almost desperate sense of purpose. They studied intercepted German messages day and night, searching for cracks in the chaos. Using pure logic and fragments of stolen intelligence from a French agent, he reconstructed Enigma's wiring without ever seeing the machine itself. The breakthrough came not through luck, but through persistence. Rejewski's equations revealed the Enigma's structure, and his colleagues designed mechanical aids, early cryptologic bombs, to speed the decoding process. It was the birth of machine-assisted code-breaking. For a brief moment, Poland stood alone against the shadow of the Third Reich, quietly listening in on secrets that even Hitler's generals believed were unreadable. Every deciphered message became a silent act of resistance, a triumph of thought over tyranny. But their victory carried a heavy cost. When Germany invaded Poland in 1939, the cryptologists were forced to destroy their work and flee. In a desperate move that would change history, they smuggled their notes and replicas of the Enigma to Britain and France. It was an extraordinary act of defiance, passing the torch of knowledge across borders just as Europe collapsed into war. Their discovery, though hidden from history for decades, became the foundation upon which Britain would build its secret fortress of codebreakers. Their legacy didn't end in Warsaw. it crossed the Channel, where a new generation of minds would take their impossible discovery and turn it into a weapon of hope. Bletchley Park looked like nothing more than a quiet English country estate. But behind its ivy-covered walls was the nerve center of one of the most secret operations in human history. Here, hundreds of men and women, linguists, chess players, crossword enthusiasts, and scientists, gathered to wage a war without weapons. They were bound by secrecy, so absolute that even their families believed they worked in administration or postal offices. The mission was simple in words, but monumental in scale: to read the thoughts of the enemy in real time. Among them was Alan Turing, reserved, brilliant, and unconventional. He walked the halls of Bletchley with quiet intensity, often lost in thought, mumbling equations under his breath. Turing understood that breaking Enigma by hand was futile. No human mind could process its shifting permutations. What was needed wasn't a man, but a machine, a mind made of metal. From this idea came the bomb, a mechanical giant that could test thousands of possible Enigma settings each minute. Every night, intercepted German transmissions poured in by the thousands. Teams raced against the clock to decode them before dawn. Each minute wasted meant convoys attacked, lives lost at sea, or cities bombed without warning. The pressure was unbearable. Yet amid exhaustion and secrecy, something extraordinary was happening. A new kind of warfare, powered not by brute strength, but by the human intellect at its highest limit. In that house of silence, people learned that intelligence could be as deadly as any bomb. The victory at Bletchley didn't arrive with fanfare. It came quietly, message by message, life by life, saved through logic. The Codebreakers worked unseen, their triumphs buried under classified files. But they knew the truth, that the war's turning point wasn't fought on a battlefield, but within the mind of a machine and the determination of those who built it. Yet even as they unlocked the enemy's secrets, they would soon face a new struggle, the moral burden of knowledge too powerful to be shared. Victory, when it came, was wrapped in silence. The war began to turn in favor of the Allies, not only because of tanks and planes, but because of words, decrypted, understood, and acted upon before the enemy even knew they were sent. Historians and scientists revisited Bletchley Park, walking through its restored huts and humming rooms, hearing the echo of machines that once decided the fate of nations. The people who worked there, the linguists, the clerks, the women who typed through the night, finally received the recognition they deserved. Their faces, once anonymous, became symbols of an era when intellect triumphed over tyranny. But the revelation carried unease, too. In a world now governed by data, encryption, and surveillance, the spirit of Enigma lingers. What was once a tool of war has evolved into a global battlefield of information, where privacy and control wage a new kind of conflict. The documentary closes in reflection. In the gentle light of Bletchley's lawns, an old teleprinter clacks one final message, a reminder that truth, like code, can be hidden but never destroyed. The Enigma was broken, yet its legacy endures in every digital lock, every line of code, every silent battle fought across the world's networks. What was once a weapon of war has become the DNA of modern civilization, proof that knowledge, when wielded with courage, can alter the very destiny of humankind. The code was broken, but its shadow remains, whispering across the circuits and screens of the modern world, reminding us that the greatest battles are still fought in silence,